In this video, we will be reviewing the Brick Dog Expert Advisor by Mr. Wei Zhu. Stick around to the end to see if this is a real EA worth your time or just another MQL5 scam. This video is sponsored by Prosperity Algo and our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Do you want to make 100+% annual returns through automating the London Breakout and the opening range Breakout? Then click the link in the description. So I translated this page from Chinese to be able to understand a bit more regarding how it works. And as we can see, this is a US 30 or Dow Jones based expert advisor, which trades on the H1 timeframe. And he's mentioning that we should be using a high liquidity platform like IC Markets, which might indicate that this would be perhaps more of a scalping system because it's trading a more scalping favored asset. And he's really mentioning the importance of spreads. And if we go through the features description here, it says that if this is optimized for US 30, so you shouldn't use it for other assets. And here it says that it's flexible on time frame and users are able to customize the stop loss, take profits. Okay. And I'm trying to see the exact strategy. Oh, here we go. This is a breakthrough trading strategy designed for the US 30 index. I have a feeling that Google Translate wasn't perfect here, and in reality, this is a breakout strategy on US 30, and likely there is a trailing stop loss and other stop loss and risk management techniques which are being used. And yeah, so far it seems like a fairly straightforward breakout system which trades the US 30. And if we kind of flip through our back test here, unfortunately, this is probably using every tick. It's looking a little bit too rosy, but that doesn't mean that it's not a great system. It's just that we need to go and do a little bit more digging. And if we look at his live signal here, we can see a very real looking equity curve that shows several months of performance. The actual rate of return is very high at almost 50%, but that's simply because he's using a lot of leverage, right? Like if you have an initial deposit of $100, and you've managed to make $50 in addition, it's going to show very, very positive, very high returns. But that is simply an effect of him using quite a bit of leverage. Using 0.2 lots on $100 is a very significant amount of leverage. But so far, so good. And if we look at the statistics too, I'm looking to see an inverted risk reward. So we can see here the average profit is significantly less than the average loss. And this is also indicative of this type of scalping breakout style system. Kind of anecdotally, I run some systems which are very similar to this, and they've been performing exceptionally well the past few weeks. So it kind of makes sense that when we're seeing the Dow kind of recover from a pretty significant beat down around the Christmas season, it's now starting to perform quite well. So that's pretty interesting. But now we can simply open MT5 to run a quick back test. And as you can see here, where we have the initial or the original Chinese writing, unfortunately, I'm not quite sure if it's either in Mandarin or Cantonese. So please excuse my lack of knowledge of culture there. And here I've taken the liberty of running a back test already on 2024 data. And as we can see, this is a very honest, legitimate looking equity curve. It does have the staircase, which we would typically expect to see with this type of system. And here we can see that kind of between September and the Christmas season, this type of breakout based system on the US 30 was not performing exceptionally well. Whereas in recent weeks, we've started seeing kind of it pulling out of its drawdown period and performing very well. This is also matching what I've been seeing from some of my systems. So this actually seems very reasonable and very honest. And if we look at the actual trades which executed, I would be inclined to think that it's likely breaking out of key levels. It might be a Donchian channel break because there's different ways to structure this system, but sometimes you can have a break of a local minima or maxima level, such as you'd look for, let's say, a maxima here, which has candles which are lower on either sides. You place a pending order and you wait for a breakout. But sometimes you can also wait for simply a breakout of on a candle level. So you may have seen an initial break and then kind of entering on the next candle. There's a few different ways that you can set it up, but they all have the same premise in which you're looking for a breakout of a certain level, which is created by a technical analysis signal, and then you enter with a quick pending order and a trailing stop loss to scalp a few pips of profit. And this is generally coupled with a much larger stop loss. This is a tried and tested style of strategy which works really well on US 30 and on gold. So I'm curious to run a visual backtest now to get a bit of a better idea of how it works. Oh, and here we go. Let me just slow it down a bit. It's kind of neat that it's placing pending orders not necessarily just at key levels. And each order actually comes with both a take profit and a stop loss. And there doesn't appear to be a trail happening. Or at least not so far. Let me maybe speed it up a bit. Okay, so let's see if it hits this order up here. And they're canceled after a certain period of time. Zoom in a bit. Oh. It's such... And I'm trying to see if it's a trailing stop loss or just a fixed take profit. So it entered here. Like, it is placing a take profit when it actually enters. Let me try and see now where, if it's actually hitting. And the journal, it is entering with a take profit. It's not a trailing stop loss, which is a little bit unique for this type of system. And it has a very positive risk reward. Oh yeah, but it's clearly, it must not actually be hitting the take profit. Yes, it is using a trailing stop loss. Let me pause now because that shows, oh, okay. I'll go for a few more seconds and I'll pause. But what it's doing is it's trying to show a very positive risk reward. So it's showing this enormous take profit relative to its stop loss. Oh, crap. Okay, here we go. So here is the take profit, here is the stop loss, and here is the buy stop. So what it's doing is it's placing this at a previous candle, and then it's going to essentially move the stop loss through a trail into take profit really quickly. And then here we should be able to quickly go through and see that, yes, it is indeed using a trailing stop loss. So it's modifying the stop loss and moving it closer. Yes, okay. So yes, this is following the classic type of this style of system, which is a breakout system with pending orders and a tight trailing stop loss. But what is kind of unique here is that where it's placing the levels, it's placing it at a previous high of a 1 hour candle. So I think if a certain series of conditions is met, it's placing the pending order at the high or the low of the previous 1 hour candle, which is kind of a unique approach. It's less commonly used. Perhaps there's like a Donchian or a Keltner channel breakout, which is actually causing this to trigger. But it's quite a neat approach. So it's different than the very classic like minima maxima style system. So maybe just to kind of wrap up our video before it gets too long, this is an honest, legitimate trading bot. This style of system might not be insanely profitable long term. Like if you run a back test of this thing since 2022, for the majority of its beginning period, it did not do incredibly well. Maybe I'll do that now while I narrate the outro. But the actual signal does look honest. It does appear to be following a real strategy. My only concern would be like the level of robustness over a super long period of time. Let me just run, okay, 2022 looked good. It did fall off here briefly. Yes, there we go. But one thing to note is this fall off happened with quite a few different US 30 bots. The price action of US 30 in 2023 was not super conducive to breakout systems. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But overall, looks like a solid system. This is an honest bot, no manipulation, perhaps a bit overpriced for a fairly simplistic strategy, but you likely won't be disappointed with it because it does appear to be at least an honest, real strategy. Guys, take care. Have yourselves a great day.